Fans of young Sheldon and its spin-off Georgie and Mandy's first marriage have grown deeply invested in the young couple's journey, from teenage parents to struggling newlyweds trying to build a life together in Texas. Season 1 charmed audiences with its mix of heart, humor, and tension as Georgie, Montana Jordan, and Mandy, Emily Osment, navigated the chaos of early parenthood and the pressures of family life. But as Season 2 gears up, whispers are growing louder that it might offer the biggest hint yet about how and why the couple's marriage could eventually fall apart. While fans are rooting for Georgie and Mandy to defy the odds, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage has never shied away from exploring the realities of love built on shaky foundations. And if the subtle emotional cracks from Season 1 are any indication, Season 2 might just set the stage for heartbreak, even if it's wrapped in laughter. A marriage built on youth, love, and pressure. When young Sheldon ended, Georgie and Mandy's story was left at a hopeful point: married, raising baby Cece, and living under the roof of the Coopers. But viewers already knew, thanks to the Big Bang Theory, that adult Sheldon often referred to his brother's multiple marriages. That ominous bit of trivia became a cloud hanging over Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, a title that itself hints this union may not be forever. Season 1 leaned into this tension. Mandy struggled to balance her dreams and motherhood, while Georgie tried to prove he could be a provider despite his young age and lack of direction. The show made it clear that while they love each other, they are also very different people. Mandy is mature, ambitious, and often exasperated by Georgie's impulsive nature. Georgie, for his part, idolizes Mandy but doesn't always understand her emotional needs. In Season 2, that dynamic seems poised to deepen, and perhaps darken. Early reports suggest the couple may face new challenges, from career opportunities pulling them in different directions to family tensions that force them to question what they really want. Those familiar with the Big Bang Theory lore can't help but wonder if these seeds might eventually bloom into the breakup that Sheldon once referenced. A new chapter and a new temptation. One of the most talked-about rumors surrounding Season 2 involves Georgie stepping into a more independent phase of his life. After years of working at the tire shop, he might be tempted by a new business venture, or perhaps even a career that demands more of his time away from Mandy and Cece. This shift could mirror the kind of growing pains that tear many young couples apart. Georgie's eagerness to make it big might leave Mandy feeling neglected, especially if she begins to rediscover her own ambitions outside the home. In Season 1, we saw hints of her desire to pursue something beyond motherhood, perhaps a return to TV or local media, given her background as a weather forecaster. If Season 2 picks up that thread, we could be looking at two people whose lives are moving in opposite directions, even as they cling to the idea of being a family. There's also the possibility that Season 2 introduces a third party, not necessarily a romantic rival, but someone who challenges Georgie's worldview. Maybe a charismatic business partner or a friend who encourages him to take risks that Mandy would never approve of. For a character like Georgie, whose confidence often teeters between bravado and insecurity, that kind of influence could be dangerous. The power of foreshadowing. One of the most brilliant aspects of young Sheldon was how it used subtle foreshadowing to enrich its emotional tapestry. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage seems to be following suit. The showrunners have dropped breadcrumbs that might lead to the couple's eventual separation, not in the form of betrayal or explosive drama, but something far more relatable: emotional distance. In the finale of Season 1, Mandy confided to Mary Cooper that sometimes she feels like she and Georgie are playing house. That one line spoke volumes. It captured the fragility of a relationship born out of circumstance rather than timing. And if Season 2 continues to explore that theme, we might see the couple gradually realize that love alone isn't enough to sustain them, especially when dreams, responsibilities, and personal growth pull them in conflicting directions. The show could easily weave this slow unraveling into its comedic beats, much like young Sheldon balanced humor with heartache. Imagine an episode where Georgie forgets a major anniversary because he's caught up in work, or Mandy accepts an out-of-town job opportunity that tests their trust. These aren't dramatic soap opera twists. They're real-life growing pains that could quietly lead to an inevitable split. The influence of family. Of course, no Cooper-centered story would be complete without family interference. George S.R.'s passing and Mary's grief loomed heavily over young Sheldon's later seasons, shaping how Georgie viewed responsibility. In Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, those family dynamics continue to play a major role. Season 2 could explore how living near, or with, the Coopers affects their independence. Sheldon's fame in the future, Missy's rebellion, and Mary's tendency to meddle could all create friction. Mandy's parents, too, especially her father Jim, who never fully approved of Georgie, might add pressure. It's easy to imagine Jim offering Mandy support in a way that makes Georgie feel inadequate, reigniting old insecurities. At its heart, this is the story of two people trying to define themselves outside their family's shadows. And sometimes, that means growing apart before they can grow up. A bittersweet ending, or a hopeful twist. If Georgie and Mandy's first marriage truly wants to bridge the gap between young Sheldon and the broader Big Bang Theory universe, Season 2 might position itself as the emotional pivot point. It could show how the couple's love evolves and perhaps painfully dissolves. But it could also surprise us. Maybe the breakup isn't a bitter one. Perhaps Georgie and Mandy come to realize they're better off as friends and co-parents, paving the way for future maturity. In The Big Bang Theory, adult Georgie is portrayed as a successful businessman, even if his romantic life is complicated. Maybe the end of this first marriage is what pushes him to grow up and become the man Sheldon later respects, grudgingly. And for Mandy, the show might set her on a journey of self-discovery, not as a single mother stereotype, but as a woman reclaiming her identity after years of compromise. Emily Osment's portrayal gives Mandy the depth to make that transition believable, and fans are ready to see her shine. Conclusion: love, loss, and lessons. Season 2 of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage promises to be a turning point, not just for its characters, but for fans who have followed their story since young Sheldon. The show has the rare opportunity to blend humor with heartbreak, showing that not all love stories end in forever, and that sometimes the first marriage is where the most important lessons are learned. Whether it ends in heartbreak or hope, one thing is certain. Georgie and Mandy's story isn't just about what breaks them apart, it's about how they find themselves in the process. And for fans who have grown up alongside the Coopers, that journey might be the most emotional one yet.